Welcome to Be the Wellness Podcast, where we help you master your body, mind, and the experience of life through insightful conversation, interviews with experts and thought leaders, all with a side of marital banter and some good old-fashioned humor.
Yes, we are your hosts, Adam and Vanessa Lambert, and we're committed to helping you live life fully expressed physically, mentally, and experientially. Sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation.
Hello and welcome everybody to Be the Wellness Podcast. Adam and Vanessa Lambert doing the same old podcast intro again.
It's been a minute since you've actually.
I know.
I was going to see where that one went.
No, that was it.
Doing the same old thing.
Same old thing.
New week, same thing.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty good tagline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Different day, same thing.
Same thing. I used to have a job like that.
You did, actually. Same thing, meaning same outfit, same meals, same truck, same everything. So we have a great podcast that we are going to kick off in just a moment with you. But first, couple of important announcements. Mm-hmm. First off, Vanessa
got her hair done.
I did get my hair done today. And I'm sure all of you can
hear it.
And you can feel over the internet how good it is, right? No, but I did get my hair done today, so I'm feeling pretty saucy. And, when you get your hair blowed out, you're just like, blowed out.
Blowed out.
We get it all blowed out. That's the honky-tonk version of a blowout. Anyway, we have some important announcements. We've got a couples room that opened up in Montana, our Montana retreat coming up in September. And I don't know if you remember this, but I remember that the couples room sold out within like a couple of hours of this retreat launching and have been closed ever since. So we did have a cancellation. So we have a couples king suite for anyone out there, for actually any two out there.
Yeah.
Specifically any two who would like to have their own suite. We have that open now, and time's a wasting because that retreat is right around the corner.
It is.
And we also have 1 or 2 single spots for female solo travelers. I can't remember for 1 or 2. So a couple more spaces there, but wanted to make that announcement about the couple space in particular, because if you and your homie, else. Your lovey, your whatever, you and your bestie, you and your whatevers want to come.
Not you and your dog.
Not you and your dog, sadly.
Yeah.
That's going to be a different retreat.
Right.
But it's going to be an awesome retreat. Montana is going to be epic, and super excited, looking forward to that. We will be going to Burning Man and then driving our RV to Montana for that event. So we're doing a little bit of a road trip. Bless you.
Don't snuck up on me.
That made you so excited you sneezed.
Dude, it's the solar sneeze response.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You're
I squint my face and I sneeze, and that's just what happens.
So anyway, we'll be taking a little road trip, taking a couple weeks to get out there and join y'all in just outside Glacier National Park. So it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can check that out on BeTheWellness.com/experiences. You can also, of course, email me, info@BeTheWellness.com, direct message me on Instagram. Mental telepathy works.
Yeah. Although you have to be really clear about the intention.
Yeah.
Because otherwise Vanessa might think you want something else, and you just never know.
Yes, exactly. So anyway, moving on, we've got an awesome podcast with you guys from the beautiful, amazing Cristina Curp of Castaway Kitchen.
Yeah. And you guys may have caught the live that we did with her. And if you haven't, listen to this, because it's good to get, just the download on it. But she's a character.
She is.
And she's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And she's like she's Cuban.
Yes.
Right. And so there's just something, just like you, when the Italian comes out, there's like something about watching you talk.
A little fiery. Yeah.
Yeah. There's like something going on there. It's not like watching me talk, which is like a lot like listening to me talk, So it's worth it. Yeah.
It's a little animated version.
Yeah.
But Cristina is the captain behind the Castaway Kitchen, a popular food blog, and destination site for low-carb resources. She's a Miami native with Cuban roots, as we just mentioned, who has voyaged all over the world alongside her husband, supporting his military career. As a chef and mother on the move, she is accustomed to packing their lives and her knives to start over every few years. This ongoing adventure birthed her blog, which is a collection of inventive, low-carb, keto, whole food recipes that have helped her reverse autoimmune disease, lose weight, and take control of her own health and well-being. Cristina is passionate about cooking, sharing her experiences to help others, and enjoying life to the last drop.
Yeah.
Bam.
I think that actually sums it up pretty good. But one thing I would say is that there's a lot of low-carb keto cookbooks out there. And I would not write her off as another person doing a low-carb keto cookbook. Mm-hmm. I mean, she definitely covers those bases. And in the podcast, she talks at length about like where she thinks that's appropriate and kind of what the steps are for getting through that. And I think she has a really good, well-rounded, solid approach for understanding when this is appropriate, when it's not appropriate. And then, her recipes are amazing.
Yes. And exactly. And like you said, she's all about the reintroduction, the reintegration, the being healthy, not staying stuck in the elimination phase of your life. And so, yeah, she's got a great message. She also has a brand new cookbook called Made Whole, which is amazing. Lots of amazing recipes on there for people who are low carb or not. They're just delicious and wonderful. And we, we're lucky enough to receive one of those from Victory Belt when it came out. So we have been making recipes out of that for a while now. And yeah, good stuff.
Indeed.
So let's kick it off. Here's Cristina.
Welcome to the podcast, Cristina.
Hi, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, so cool. We've before we had technical difficulties and and we got cut off from chatting. I was saying that we've heard so many wonderful things about you. So it's really exciting to connect in person via the internet.
Yes, definitely. I love following you guys and I love your adventures. And when Liz reached out, I love her. I love her so much.
She's the best.
Yeah, it made me really happy that she was with you guys now. So that's cool.
She's the Lisbeths. We love her. Love those bits.
Yeah, me too.
So we obviously want to get to the book and talk about all that great stuff, but we'd love to kick it off with just hearing a little bit about your backstory. So if you can just kind of get our listeners up to speed with how you really got into this, healthy lifestyle, healthy cooking, healthy creation, and, what spurred you on to sort of throw your hat in the ring of this as being a wellness advocate.
Yeah. So my mom owns a health food restaurant here in Miami, Green Gables Cafe.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. She's open for 12 years. And before that, she's always kind of been a foodie. And I was that kid at school with a thermos with hot soup and stuff. And I never, till this day, never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I mean, I'm also Cuban, first generation American. So we just didn't eat that stuff. But
right.
So kind of my mom's always been into it. And just this kind of black sheep of her family in the sense that she never ate traditional Latin foods. She was always making big salads and just loved veggies. And she dabbled in vegetarianism back in the day when her family thought she was insane.
Right.
So the interest in all that definitely comes from my mom. And throughout the years, I think especially when we were in our teen years, she was definitely into more holistic doctors and seeing herbalists and acupuncturists and stuff. Mm-hmm. So when I, married and had my own kid and I kind of hit my own health, rock bottom, going to a paleo template, was kind of what I knew because through my mom and her woo-woo doctors, we had done paleo back in the day. I think it's back when I was in college, a holistic doctor put us all on paleo, and a lot of things stuck with us, stayed mostly gluten-free and never went back to drinking cow milk and so many things. But
and did your doctors call it paleo at the time, or did they?
Did back in 2008.
Wow. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But before it was a thing. But of course, back then I was in college. I was binge drinking every night, smoking cigarettes and doing a lot of drugs. And so, I mean, it doesn't matter what I was eating. I wasn't getting healthy.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, fast forward to having a baby. And I just got really I wasn't okay. After I had my son, I was a very healthy pregnant person. Mm-hmm. But in the 2 years postpartum, I gained a bunch of weight. My inflammation went just crazy. And pre-existing autoimmune issues that I had, but didn't know much about. They're just crappy things I dealt with kind of also got so bad that I was like, okay, I need to do something about this. I don't know why I waited for it to get so bad to finally like dig a little deeper and like not just, listen to the doc. I don't know. I guess whatever, like how that is. And so that's kind of when I Googled so my skin condition is hidradenitis suppurativa. And so it's like, it's really painful and it's like unsightly and it sucks and it's just embarrassing. And so I didn't talk about it. And like teenagers, you don't talk about it, that kind of thing. But I Googled like on the internet, like how to heal this at home. And a post from Rob Wolf's website came up.
Oh, wow.
He had this Tara Grant who wrote The Hidden Plague, who I think her handle's Primal Girl. And she wrote this book. Yeah. So Tara wrote about a book. And so, and it was this whole post on nightshades and all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, what? Like, food can fix this? Food? I know food. And so that was like how it started.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. I started writing recipes for that. And then my friend was like, you should put those online, start a blog. And I was like, what's a blog? Here I
am. So many times we hear this story, right? People are going through something on their own, trying to figure it out, trying to heal themselves. And they just decide to share their story. And lo and behold, it turns out so many others are going through the same thing.
Yeah. Totally. Absolutely. I mean, and Mark's Primal Blueprint published that book, Tara's book. And so it's funny because I always tell Rob and Mark, I'm like, you guys don't even know how much you changed my life. Like crazy.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. I know. Well, I think, Mark says Rob is the godfather of paleo and Mark is the godfather of primal. So they they can both be figureheads and live together in their kingdoms side by side. But no, they have made such a difference for so many people, including us. I don't know if you know our backstory, but we came from Rob Wolf's gym in NorCal. So that's how we got introduced to this whole world. Is he was literally our coach.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, tell us about like going from, okay, I'm just doing this for myself and I'm trying to figure this out for myself. Tell us a little bit about what started changing for you. And especially, from a physical standpoint, but also from the standpoint of like, whoa, I think I might have a business here, or I might have a message, or I might have something that is more than just sharing my story, and what that transition was like for you.
Yeah. So it was weird at first because my husband's in the military. He's active duty Navy. And so we move every few years. This whole like catalyst began, we had just moved from San Diego to Hawaii. And leaving San Diego like crushed my soul a little bit.
Well, thank God you were going to Hawaii, but I get it.
Right. Yeah, but it was. I had my son there, and I just met the best group of women. Plus, I love the work that I did there. And like, while I wasn't working when I left, I had a great community. I loved where I lived. I loved my friends, and Hawaii just felt like so fun. I mean, it is. It's really isolated. Like if you look at Hawaii on a map, it's like what?
It's way out there.
So we're living in out of a hotel room, and I got this. Honestly, in a weird way, I leaned on the internet as like such a crutch because I needed connection. It was like this emotional. So that kind of worked out that I had this like obsession with sharing my meals online, and I could talk to people about it and cooking and food and things that made me happy because I was lonely.
Sure.
And I kind of did that, and I had no idea how to make it into a business. I had no idea. For such a long time. And I didn't really know. I wasn't sure. At that point, I was like applying at my local Whole Foods and interviewing with local kitchens to get like a chef job again. And then Pre-Brands, like that grass-fed beef company, reached out to me and was like, hey, we just lost our ad agency. We need like a ton of content. Like, you want to do it for us? We'll pay you. And I was like, oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You're like, wait, that's a thing?
You'll give me money to cook? Yes. Yeah. Actually, you know what I was doing at that time for income? I was meal prep. Like I was doing people's meal prep. So I was cooking for several families, and I would do all their meals for the week and then deliver it to their house. And I had like 4 families that I do like all their food. So I had my blog, and it kind of had to do with that, but I had this little side gig. But yeah, and then Pre-Brands paid me. And then Mark, he wrote the Primal Kitchen cookbook, and Leslie, who worked with them, they put 2 of my recipes in that book.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then I got invited to like this Expo West party at his house. And I was like, I can't go to Expo West because I might, but I'm just going to go for the party. Like I flew in one night to go to this party at his house. But I got to meet like, you know, Cassie and Fed and Fit and Bailey at like Whole Kitchen Sink and just, you know, all these like people that I really looked up to. Right. And people are so nice and so willing to share information and like how they do things. And after that party, I'm like, okay, I'm making this a business.
Awesome. I love that. Again, Mark strikes again.
Yeah.
Mark strikes again.
The ultimate connector. Yes. Yeah. You know, when there's something to be said too, for the experience that you gained in cooking for other families, right? So you're dealing with other people's preferences and maybe their kids' preferences, and they won't eat this and they won't eat that. And man, what a quick way to really, you know, bolster your ability to fine tune and tweak and just generate these things for people. You're like, oh, you don't like that? Well, how about this? You know, what a cool way to get into that.
Absolutely. I mean, I always worked in like organic and health centered kitchens. And I always say like, we always get all the crazies. Like you want to have like the most, you know, like the hardest orders ever, work somewhere that offers like plant-based food, gluten-free options, paleo. Yeah. You're gonna, you know, like, so those are the tickets, like this sub, that sub, this. Right. And so I remember I used to like kind of get frustrated at those tickets. Like I remember like it was yesterday, someone came to the food truck and we were at the Hillcrest Farmers Market in San Diego and ordered something nightshade free. And I was like, what the, like, I was so like, what is that? Who is allergic to a tomato? And Karma's a because this girl, guess who can't eat nightshades?
Karma, Karma is, she's a funny one. So did you go straight, when you started eating paleo, did you go straight to avoiding nightshades and doing kind of a FODMAPs, or did you do AIP? Like what was your first sort of pivot into that world?
I did paleo because I knew it, like I was familiar with it. And then I started like, you know, once I started following all the paleo accounts, I started Whole30 was was really like up and coming back then, right? When it was, you know, just taking off. And so it sounded good. I did a Whole30. And after I survived my first Whole30, I had read about the autoimmune protocol, but man, you know, you read it and you're like, oh.
Yeah. It's taking it one step deeper for sure.
So it took me like 4 months to like really get the nerve to commit to the autoimmune protocol. But I always tell people, if you feel super stuck and you can't figure it out, do it, because it does work. I mean, I would have never really found out like eggplant, tomatoes, peppers, like vegetables that I loved and were such a huge part of my diet were seriously causing me harm. And I've been able to reintroduce foods that like even non-paleo foods that I'm okay with. Like I can digest grains better than I can digest a tomato. And so so nightshades and gluten are like my two forever triggers. I'm pretty much sure at this point. But yeah, autoimmune protocol. And then did that for a while, reintroduced some foods. Rob will came out with Wired to Eat and, you know, all that. And like, I think being a chef, I like to, you know, get crazy with food and have fun. And I got a little happy with the paleo baking. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. There was a phase there. There was a lot of paleo baking. And I think that kind of just made it not work anymore. I hit that wall where I'm like, why isn't it working for me? I'm like, well, it could be because I'm eating like paleo pancakes every day. So
you know,
it's
like a pound of, you know, almond meal and 4 eggs.
And like maple syrup, like you know. So then I started like doing a lower carb paleo, and I almost like didn't want to call it keto. I'd read about keto, but for me at that point, this is like almost 3 years ago, keto was this like scary place on Reddit where people only ate cheese and bacon. And I was like, I don't eat that way. And so I was like, hashtag low carb paleo. Right. It took me a while to finally be like, okay, I can call it keto now.
Yeah. Well, I think that's such a common path for folks. You know, you get into this world one way or the other with the ancestral diet to solve often some kind of an autoimmune thing. And then, you know, if people are really paying attention, they find just what you did in that, you know, once you figure out what the actual problem is, then you can reintroduce almost everything else, you know? Yeah. And that's something that I think a lot of folks miss. And so it ends up, you know, this whole thing becomes an accumulation of restrictions. And then they never forget to just kind of, you know, do the reintroduction part, which, you know, it's big.
It's the best part. And I think that there's a little bit of a what's the word, like trend right now of restriction. People are really like, they're scared of lectins, they're scared of oxalates. People are like, people who can't digest any kind of fiber or FODMAPs are going carnivore and just saying like, I'm good here, I'm going to stay here forever.
Right.
And I think carnivore is a fantastic way, especially as a master elimination diet. Talk about taking it, but if you're not digesting any kind of plant matter, there's an underlying issue. Like there's dysbiosis going on, or maybe you have H. pylori or parasites. Like you should probably want to look into that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you choose to, because you want to eat carnivore, great. But if the fact that you can't digest cabbage, like maybe look into why. Just let's figure that out.
So I'm curious if you were to be speaking to someone out there that was, kind of sitting in that paleo camp and they were feeling pretty good about it, but they hadn't seen, the resolution of some issues, maybe skin issues or digestion issues or whatnot. And you're thinking that potentially an AIP path could be beneficial for them. I'm curious, like how you would coach someone into that, like how you would sort of set them up either emotionally or just kind of help them wrap their mind around the process of doing that.
So my first thing I always tell people is like, you have to be in that mindset of like, you have to let go of fear and like fear of foods. And you have to also be ready to heal. I feel like a lot of us with autoimmune, like your body's attacking itself. So there's definitely an emotional component. So I think that oftentimes like forgiving yourself, letting go of any resentment you have towards your body for being this way, and really, so getting into the right mindset of like love and nurture and healing and acceptance, and then being ready to commit, because it's not gonna be easy. It's not.
Right.
But I would say start simple. Don't get crazy. You don't have to go crazy on Pinterest like or with the most complicated recipes. Like plants and animals, stick to the basics. And it gets better, because obviously it's the worst when you're at the beginning and you don't feel well, and now you have to cook all this weird different food and you have to cook from scratch and you're fatigued. But if they stick with it, then one day they'll be like, oh, I'm not fatigued. I have energy to cook, and I want to cook. And it kind of snowballs into, you start becoming obsessed with that feeling of feeling better. Like when you've been operating at like 20 or 30% your whole life, and then all of a sudden you get a glimpse of 80 or 90 or 100%, you're like, whoa, what? Like I want that all the time.
Yeah. Totally. I think that's so true. And I think, it looks like maybe my camera got disconnected, so I'm going to come back online.
You're still here though. Just keep talking.
Still here. Yeah. I'm just sorry. Technical stop here for me. So I'm curious though, at what point would you say to someone, okay, you've probably got, the benefit of this AIP stint, and what would it look like for them to know when it's time to come out of it? Because like you said, again, I think people do get addicted to restriction, right? And so especially like you said, if you've been feeling so terrible and suddenly you feel so great, you might want to stay there forever. So like, I'm curious what you would say to someone who is feeling amazing, they've hit a sweet spot. Like, how would you coach them through coming back out of that and starting to reintroduce things?
So keep a food journal, like 100%, write down everything, but introduce one food at a time. Let's say shorter, or you just overall, like you're feeling better. That I would say that's the time to start adding foods in, and start with things that you're use your intuition. Like I pretty much knew I could eat eggs. So they were one of my first reintroductions. And then after that, I tried some nuts, and I tried ghee, and I didn't go straight to milk or, there were some things where I wasn't interested in reintroducing. Like I did want to say paleo mostly. But yeah, do one thing at a time. It's such a pain in the butt. I get it. Like, because how many nuts are there? You can't do them all. You can't just be like trail mix. You have to do one at a time.
Right.
But it's worth it, because like I know I can do cashews, like they're my jam, and I can do a little bit of almonds, but like pecans, not so much. And so you really have to figure out. So having the patience to do one food at a time, keep notes, like taste it one day, then the next day have a little bit more, then the third day have like a good decent portion, and just wait 2 days and see what happens. And that's it. And if it's a go, then it's a go. Then look at that. You have one more food you can eat.
Yeah.
And I think it really is as simple as that, quote unquote, and it's just a matter of actually going through and doing the work, and I think for so many folks, what you just explained can seem like worse than actually solving the problem, and which is really too bad, because it's like, man, just get through the other side of it. And, you're in a whole new world.
Right. You know, but the restriction phase, as romantic as it can seem, it can't last forever because that can't be a lifestyle. So if you stay there too long, you're going to go like head first into pizza and beer one day when you're out with your friends and you're just like, screw it, I want to have it. But if you allow yourself like just more variety on a day-to-day basis, you're more likely to stick with this for the long run, you know?
Yeah, totally. The restriction piece is, you're 100% correct on that. I think that is just fundamentally like unsustainable, you know, and there's a point, I think, you know, and I think what you were saying is there's like this idea around the restriction phase that can feel like you're really doing something, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm taking action, I'm reducing these things from my diet and I'm making something happen. And it can almost seem like I guess people can become kind of identified with that, right? Like, no, I'm on AIP or I'm on whatever because I have X, Y, and Z. And so coming around to the idea that, you know, maybe you don't is like, well, then who will I be? Like, what will be my acronym then? AIP plus peanuts? You know, like, like who am I going to be? And so Yeah, I actually have a few blog posts, but I felt very lonely when I did my reintroductions because I no longer could share my recipes with the AIP community. It was AIP plus black pepper, AIP plus peanut or almonds, and it was like, well, who am I cooking for now? But then, you know, I realized that a lot of people are in that in between, and I also feel like I don't like when people say I'm not AIP, like I eat AIP, or I'm not keto, I eat keto, or like even with their disease, with like people's conditions, like with autoimmune disease, I try and I have to practice this all the time. Like I don't like to say like my Hashimoto's, or, you know, you just say like the you know, don't identify so much even with your illness, I feel. Yeah, I think that's a huge piece, you know, that identity. Well, and, you know, it's kind of like you were saying when you were isolated in Hawaii, you know, you're always looking for that community. And so often these communities that you find in and around a disease are tight. You know, I mean, these are people that you share something with that a lot of other people don't understand or don't have any, you know, sense of belonging to. And so this is your niche, you know, like, can I still come in here and talk to you guys if I reintroduce, you know, tomatoes? Like, is that going to be
cool? So loud?
It happens. It does. And as a blogger, when you do share, when your space is almost part of the community, but, you know, I put out my book and it's like, and I remember when I pitched it to Victory Bell, I was like, oh man, they're going to think I'm crazy. Because it's like this book that's keto, but paleo, but it's nitrate-free, nut-free, dairy-free. But I use seeds and seed-based spices, though, and eggs and some of the recipes. But if the food tastes good, man, it tastes good. Who cares what's in it?
Absolutely. And I love the name Made Whole. It's so great. Like, it's really great. So I'm curious, though, really quick, you glazed over something about being ready to heal. Yeah. And I'm curious for you, like how you came to that realization of that key point, you know, because I do think, again, people are very often addicted to, you know, what's going on for them, whether it's a disease state or whether it's just, you know, restriction or whatever, that we do tend to get into a habit of having that story. So I'm curious what made you realize that like there was a story there, an underlying essence of needing to heal something, and like how you help people through that piece. Like, first of all, how do you help them to recognize if there's something there? And then what have you done for yourself to help that story, and how do you help others?
So I feel like in general, like, I don't know why in society, maybe women more so than the other sexes, but we like punish ourselves a lot, or like we feel unworthy of things. And there's this like vicious kind of cycle of punishment. And I think, and like as so many women just in general, people like this sense of unworthiness. And I kind of hit that wall where I was like, I'm doing all the right things. Everything I could control, by God, I was controlling it. Like I was eating all the things. I was working out. I was like grounding, meditating, swimming in the ocean in Hawaii. Like, and I remember being like, Mom, I was like crying to my mom on the phone one day. I was like, Mom, I'm like doing everything and I'm still like, I'm not getting better. I don't know. I feel so lost. And, you know, bless my mother. She's awesome. She's like a super witchy woman, but she's like, you know, I think that you're doing all the things that you can actually see and touch and feel. She's like, but I don't know if you truly believe that you deserve to heal. She's like, do you feel like you deserve to be healthy? And then I was like, oh no, you know. Anyway, so she has an energy healer, and then I talked about a little bit on my Instagram, but I can't like share her information because she doesn't take clients anymore. But and so my mom was like, I'm gonna make an appointment for you, and I was like, bro, mom, that's like way too much. Like on the phone, like how does that even work? I was like super skeptical. But man, it was the best thing ever. And we worked through a lot of stuff, that even things as a child, and I did have a lot of feelings of unworthiness, and even just from all the things that, you know, self-esteem issues, and they compound, and then every choice you made, and like all the, you know, craziness in my like 20s that I think that like I wasn't good enough to heal, or because I did that, I now had to like pay penance or something. Right. And I really had to just realize that I was worth it, that I deserve to thrive, that everyone does. And that you forgive yourself for whatever like self-harm you caused yourself in the past, and move forward. And so when I get messages from people I get it all the time, especially women, like, I can't do it. I can't stick to it. I start the AIP every month. I say I'm going to do it, or every time I'm going to say do a whole 30, and then I don't do it. And like, my first question is, why don't you think you deserve to feel better? Yeah. And then they're like, holy shit. They're like, yeah.
Is there a common answer to that?
Yeah. Usually it's something like they don't feel they truly deserve to be happy. You know, either they're, it's the same thing. It's like a toxic relationship with themselves, almost like they're their biggest critic, you know, they don't think they're good enough people. They don't think they try enough, or they're, you know, I think everyone has their own like inner child, essentially, that's holding on to something. It's usually from their or trauma. Like, there's a big correlation with like autoimmune disease and past trauma, and like even like fibromyalgia. There's just certain things that manifest in our body physically, and it's hard because, of course, there aren't like that many studies on it, but there were definitely like patterns.
Yeah, I've heard this actually before. And it just makes sense. I mean, honestly, all of that trauma stored, if you just think about epigenetics and how we express things, it just makes sense. Like when there's serious traumatic events, that why wouldn't your body express in that way? And it just, I mean, it totally makes sense. I remember I don't know what your experience is with plant medicine or anything, but we've done plant medicine several times and had an experience of myself when I was in Costa Rica last time of actually being able to truly listen to the way I speak to myself. And I think that all of us are kind of like, oh, you know, be nice to yourself, speak to yourself nicely, you know, do all of this stuff. But like, you're not even aware of like how you actually speak to yourself. And I had this profound like experience of how terribly I talked to myself, you know, and just, it was so mind blowing to me to, you know, be able to actually zoom out and think there's nobody on the planet I would talk to like this. And, you know, so I'm always curious, like how people break that barrier between, okay, in my mind, I think I'm being kind to myself and I think I want to heal and I think I want to do all of these things, but like, when you actually realize that you don't, like what is that moment for you is like working with a healer and like, you know, realization aware this is how we feel about ourselves.
Oh, are you there?
Yeah, no, I can hear you guys. Sorry, it was like patchy for a second. I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, you couldn't? Oh, okay, we're back.
No, I heard like the last thing I heard is like when I worked with a healer.
Oh yeah, so you worked with a healer, right, to help you kind of come to that closure, that space of really letting in true healing. But I'm curious, like for others, what has been your experience of helping them to just see that they may not actually be like aware of the way that they're treating themselves? You know, like I'm curious about that line of actually recognition of you realizing like, oh no, I actually am not that nice to myself, or I don't feel like I should heal. Like, how do you get people to cross that barrier of recognition?
Well, I think that a lot of people don't realize it. It's not even there. It's like, you can't even trust your own thoughts sometimes. Like we really have been reprogrammed. So even the thoughts in your own head, like you're literally just repeating to yourself what you've been conditioned to think, and like we've been brainwashed since we were little kids. It's everywhere. All the messages since you're little, like it's in there. And so I work with people a lot, like on intentions, and I talk about that a lot in like all my work. I'm like, intentions are everything, because you could eat the healthiest food in the world, but if your intention is to change something that you hate about yourself, it's probably not going to work or be very good for you. But if you eat that amazing healing food with the intention to truly heal your body, and because you want to thrive and you deserve it, then I think it'll have that effect. So yeah, I think I talk a lot about like being truly brutally honest. Like I think especially with women and in the health and wellness space, there's a lot of pull. There's like, they want to heal, they want to lose weight, then they may feel guilty for having weight loss goals, because there's like this whole thing now with like the body positive movement that like almost guilt trips people for wanting to like lose weight or look a certain way. Oh,
totally. Yeah.
But then it's like, and I think that there's like a fine line, because I tell people, like even my clients, like I'm taking people on like my NTP clients, and it's like, I have women and they're like, I hope it's okay, but I want to lose weight. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm like, you can want to do, I know, like, are you kidding me? I grew up as a fat kid growing up. Like it's brutal. And I also people like, if you have not lived as a fat person in this world, like you don't even know, like, it's like, people, you're treated horribly, like a second-class citizen. Of course you don't want to like live in this world that treats people like that. And I get, and it's like, but I tell people, you also have to realize like, what does that mean? Because like there's weight loss, and then there's like getting to a weight where your body's happy and healthy and thriving.
Right.
And they might not always look the same.
Right.
And that's a tough pill to swallow. But I think that when you get to a place where your intentions are truly from a place of love, you will then accept your body in its happy, healthy weight, which is going to be a body that can help you climb mountains and dance all night and pick up your children and run and jump and be strong and active and thriving. And that should be, so yeah, I think intentions is a big like conversation to have in that.
Yeah.
Amen. I love it.
That is such an important thing that you just said. And this is something that we see in some of the coaching and stuff that we do, is people come in with a goal like, okay, I want, 6-pack abs for summer. And you're like, okay, well, this is what it's going to take to do that, and you get through it and they're like, yeah, and even if they do achieve that, which, you can get almost anyone there if they're willing to do the work, afterwards, they're like, yeah, this isn't that great. I don't feel that good. I don't have that much energy. It was really hard. I'm having to be too picky about everything. It's like, well, where's this happy balance? You're like, well, that's the spot that your body often winds up when you give it exactly what it needs, is this, happy balance that hopefully then you can just learn to love and be like, okay, look, I'm good with this. This is my jam.
Yes.
This is me, and I feel good about it, and I can have all the fun that I want to have and do all the things that I want, So I pick that up. Yeah, I like it. Yeah,
we're all about the experience part of this, and I think so many people get stuck in the healing. It's like I always say, like, don't forget to heal. Like, don't forget that part. That's the best part, is like to get over that and then go have the fun and go have the experience. And it's a lot of why our brand is body, mind, experience. Like there should be a then what? There should be a goal towards what, where you're going towards.
Right. I agree. I'm actually in a place right now where I'm finally there. And like, it's weird. It's interesting sharing it with my followers, because for such a long time, I think I was like sanctified as like, I'm always on point with like my choices and my this, and I don't stay out late and I don't drink. And I always eat at home. And it's true. That was my life for so long, because that's what it took to heal. But like, I totally got super drunk last Wednesday. Like I went to this dinner and I had way too much wine. And then we had whiskey afterwards. And like, I was so hungover the next day. And it's fine, because I'm okay. Like, yes, was I hungover for a day? Yes. Did the gym suck on Friday when I went back? Yes. But it wasn't like I didn't have a flare. I didn't have I had a hangover, not an autoimmune flare. Like that's a huge win. And I can do those things now. And I can make the choice to stay out too late and drink too much wine, because I'll be okay. And it's an experience.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. And I think, honestly, it's a tricky thing, I think, as a influencer figure, public figure, whatever, to actually, overcome those moments, because I think as people in the public eye, you tend to want to hold back those things, like, oh, I don't want people to know I did that because I've built myself as this other person. But I think really, like, that's what makes you human. That's what gives everyone hope. That's what shows everybody that, like, at some point I can be there too. And at some point I can make those decisions for myself, and I can actually live my life the way I want to and not the way I have to, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yes. The way you want to, not the way you have to. I love that. And I think, yeah, and it took me a long time. I had those fears too. I had to get over them, but root cause issues and putting in the work and like, man, you work so hard, enjoy it and have a little bit of leeway. And like, that's the point, right?
Yes. Amen. I love it. I love it. So tell us about the cookbook, because I want people to get a good sense of what they can expect and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So Made Whole, which came out, it actually just turned a year old this last week.
Congrats.
I know.
Your baby.
My baby.
You're both babies.
So Made Whole, it's like 140 something recipes, 145 recipes. And they're all paleo. And then they're also very keto friendly. And like, I would say all except for maybe 2 are like really good keto macros. But I talk about the autoimmune protocol. I talk about paleo, and I talk about keto in the front matter and how to do them. I talk a lot about like listening to your body and not an app. And I talk about like, kind of making the journey your own, because that's another thing. People have this, like, there's this external validation thing that people seek, especially in when the healing process. But I think that they stop, like they keep seeking, like telling people to, like, I get people to like ask me questions. Like they just want me to tell them that it's okay to eat a carrot or like a sweet potato. Right. And I'm like, I don't have to tell you that, like, go eat it. So that's like, and so I really want people to listen to themselves. I'm always just trying to write my advice in a way that empowers people to make choices for their body based on their situation, not me telling them what I don't sell like magic bullet plans, Right. Because there's no such thing. And I'm that girl that did all the things. I read all the books, all the plans. Nothing worked. I had to go make up my own weird, like tiny, corner of the internet. So yeah, I like to just give people the information so they can figure out what like combination of all that works for them. And yeah, that's Made Whole has a lot of that in the front matter. But again, cooking, like there's a lot of cooking tips in there, like how to use a cast iron skillet, tips and tricks from my kitchen, like substitutions. The recipes in Made Whole are like a lot of fun. There's recipes for like every occasion. It's definitely like, I would say, I don't know. It's great. I love it. I mean, it's been so well received. It's like makes my heart whole, because even people who aren't paleo or keto buy the book and they enjoy the recipes and stuff. And I get messages from people who just picked it up because they look good. They saw it at Costco. Right. And then I get an email and I was like, oh my God, my husband has this thing with his esophagus and we were eating your recipes for like 2 weeks straight and we felt great. And then we just like picked up another book and made something. And then we just realized from that, because it had marinara, that he can't, like, that his esophagus started like spasming again. And we realized that the only difference was nightshades. So super random. Wow. Someone who wasn't even using my book because it's nightshade free realized that they had an intolerance. Oh, like, my goodness. Random things like that. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I want to stop on the cast iron skillet really quick, because you mentioned that, and I want to know, like, what do you love about it? Why do you recommend it? All that stuff.
So I love cast iron because it's a good non-toxic cookware, and it is so affordable. Like you can pick them up for like $10. You can get a big 16-ounce cast iron that you can cook for a family like 4 or 5 in every night for 100 years and use it every single night, and it will never like break or wear out. So it's super affordable. It's like, again, like, and they can be super nonstick. So the big thing with cast iron, people have a hard time with making them nonstick. And so my trick is, well, first of all, it's got to be seasoned well, and some are pre-seasoned, and large cast iron does use soybean oil to season. So I just tell people scrub it real. And the trick with cast iron is that you have to heat it on low to medium low for like 5 to 10 minutes until it's really, really hot. And then when you can like sprinkle water and like dances, then you add the fat, then you add the food, and it will be nonstick as hell. Like you can put it, like I fry my eggs, I do my everything, and it comes right off. And then when you're done, you can scrape it clean. And I use soap. I use the scrapey part of the sponge, but I hand dry it and I oil it up every single time. I just find cast iron to be great. And like people are like, oh, but how about the like iron leaching? Unless you're simmering something for a really long time, that really isn't something to worry about. And you can always get like an enameled cast iron for like a Dutch oven if you're slow cooking. But yeah, I love cast iron. I think it's timeless, and I think it's like, I don't know what's the word. It's so practical.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'd read somewhere that cast iron was great because it actually gives you some of the trace minerals that your body likes to have and that we don't get. And I don't know if that's true or not. Do you know anything about that?
I mean, I know you can get iron from your cast iron.
Yeah, clearly.
Maybe. I mean, I think that like, it's been used for so long. And like, you know, you can use what is like the multi-clad, but they're a lot more finicky. And they can be really expensive. Like you try and get like, what is it? The all clad skillets are like $150 a skillet. Like forget that.
Oh, and we've had them and I'm like, this sticks. I can't make this work. I don't know.
So, I do Lodge. And then because people are always asking like, you know, with healthy living and non-toxic and like, as far as it comes, like the most bang for your buck, cast iron, I think it's perfect. So, I mean, it's a little heavy. For people, but
yes.
Hey, you know, you got to get your movement in somewhere.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. Exactly. Your bicep curl, that's 16 inch.
Exactly.
Yeah, or the Dutch ovens, you know, it's like keep that thing on a low shelf and you get your deadlifts built right in.
Yeah.
There you go. Exactly.
So, Cristina, what are you most excited about right now moving forward?
Ooh, actually, I'm starting a podcast next. Really exciting with Kendra from Peace, Love, and Low Carb.
Oh, nice.
We're like, we became like besties. It's a fun story. She like messaged me one day on Instagram and was like, "Hey, do you want to write a book? I like your stuff." I was like, yes, I've wanted to write one forever. She's like, "Do you have an idea?" I'm like, "I have several. Let me get my file. Hold on." Cause I remember back when I was a little baby blogger, after my first Whole30 recipes takeover, I was like, "Yes, this is it. I've made it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
It's official.
I wrote a book proposal. I worked on for 3 months and I sent it to like every publisher ever, including my own. I never heard back from anybody. It's very humbling. So I was like, all right, and put my head down, kept working. And and then Kendra messaged me out of the blue. We started talking. I told her some ideas. And then like a week later, she's like, "What's your phone number?" And she calls me. It's like, "My publisher liked your idea. They want to talk to you. Like, I'm going to hook you guys up." And I was like, "Who's this person?" She's like a fairy godmother. Like, what's happening? Yeah. Like, she's like, I didn't know. We didn't know each other. And then I had a phone call with the publisher and they liked the idea. And then she came to Maui and I was in Oahu. So I hopped over and we got to hang out and it was like instant connection, like sister from another mister.
I love that.
Yeah. And then we've now, like, we see each other. She doesn't see, I imagine we're like on opposite ends now, but we see each other as much as possible and we talk on the phone all the time. And so one day someone offered me if I wanted to start a podcast with them, and someone I didn't know very well. And like someone I really liked, I didn't feel bad because I'm like, I like this person. I just don't know them that well. And I feel like a podcast is like a big commitment, you know? You're doing something weekly, right?
Totally. It's a huge commitment.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Stacey Tove, actually, because she lives around where I live now. And she told me she's a podcast with Dr. Sarah Ballantyne. And she's like, make sure if you do a podcast, pick your partner good because it's like a marriage, you know, you're together forever. I mean, you guys, you know.
Yeah.
Two birds, one stone.
Marriage first, then podcast, but I could see it going backwards.
Right. So what I was like, well, Kendra, I don't know what to do because I know you're super busy and like whatever. And like, I don't know if a podcast. And she's like, well, listen, if you're doing a podcast with anyone, it's going to be with me. So let's make it happen. And I was like, okay, we do talk on the phone like at least several hours each week. So we're like, we should just record one of our phone calls and we're good.
Perfect. And have you guys set a date for that, or have you set your wedding date?
Yeah. So she's on book tour right now. Okay. So when she gets back from book tour, we're going to record a few episodes in September and then start releasing them in October.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah. And the book, it's a Victory Belt book, right?
It is. We both are Victory Belt authors. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Erish is the best. You guys.
He is.
You nailed it. Yeah.
he's awesome. And I talking to him and like, I was like, you know, pitching my weird idea. And he's like, this is awesome. This is how I eat. He's like, I eat this way other people do. It'll be fantastic. I'm like, yeah. And then I'm writing my second one for them now too. So.
Great. And when will that be out?
Spring 2020, I think. I just shot my book cover yesterday, which is exciting.
Oh, that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm almost done. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that seems like, you know, you're like, oh, geez, spring 2020, you're just shooting a book cover. You're like, no, man, books take
forever.
Like spring 2020 is right around the corner.
Yeah. So I work really fast. I'm a weirdo. So I wrote Made Whole and photographed it in 5 months.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
I turned it in like 4 months early. And then this book, I started in January. It's due in November, my manuscript. And I have 130 recipes and 10,000 words for the front matter already.
Wow. They're like, yes, this is the kind of person that they want to work with. Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, because I'm a recipe like machine. I'm always doing new ideas. Like I don't even repeat meals myself. I'm like, if I'm cooking, it's something new. So let's do this.
Yeah.
and I just did the NTP program. So my head's been like buzzing with all this information I want to share. And like my ideas have just been so clear. So the next book is cool. I'm not having any dietary labels on it. Okay, cool. I just want it to be like good food.
But are you keeping it to certain ingredients only and just not labeling it that way, or is it kind of opening the funnel back up to?
No, I'm not. No, it's still going to be the same. So it's going to be a sequel to Made Whole. So it's going to be Made Whole, Made Simple.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So the recipes are going to be, the only ingredient I'm adding into this one is cashews, because one feedback I did get from like the dairy-free keto and just people who don't do dairy is that a lot of people have coconut intolerances.
Totally.
So I'm like, okay, well I can't do, so I'm like, I need something else. So I'm like, let me add cashews.
Right.
For some more coconut-free options, especially creamy. So I did add coconut. So the next one will be completely nut-free, except for but it has a lot more egg-free stuff and AIP, and they're all keto recipes. But the front matter, instead of talking about specific diets, I just wanted to give people like information on optimizing digestion and balancing fat, like their fatty acids, and how like just your body creates ATP. Like what does your body do with this energy that you're eating? Because I think like everyone talks about like macros, but they don't really know. Right. Like there's a lot of confusion. So just in layman's terms, like what the biochemistry is of like just creating energy. And just keeping it really simple. So all the recipes are sheet pan, one pot, pressure cooker, slow cooker, no cook.
Oh.
So that's easy.
Right up my alley. Yeah. Like Adam Lambert is ready to place his first order.
Yes.
He is like the Instant Pot king of the house.
That's awesome. Yeah.
There's so many things that go along with it. Like I dislike inefficiency, and I don't like doing dishes, so it's like if something takes 40 bowls in order to make one thing, and then you have to put it in another bowl to serve it, it's just drives me nuts.
Right. Yeah. I actually am a sheet pan. So when I started writing the book, I realized like, oh my God, I have like 35 sheet pan recipes and like 51 pot recipes. And I was like, I gotta get these slow cooker pressure cooker recipes going. So then I have like 15 of those so far, and I'm going to do it. So when I get back home I'm in Miami right now. So when I get back home to Virginia, I'm going to round out the pressure cooker recipes and some more desserts, because I'm not. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Yeah, you cut out for us for just a second, but I know the listeners heard it. But we are super excited that we finally got to do this. This was amazing. You're amazing. Where can folks find the book? Where can they follow you? Where can they reach out, stay in touch, and see all the things that Christina's up to?
Awesome. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
I hope we get to meet in real life soon. I want to go. I want to go on one of your trips. I'm like, when my
do it.
Okay, when my husband comes back from deployment, we'll go. But yeah, so I'm at the Castaway Kitchen on Instagram, on Facebook. I have a little YouTube channel, and I'm really active like on Instagram, mostly on Facebook. But my blog has like a ton of free recipes and free resources, and I'm always posting new stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today. And we look forward to having you at one of our trips soon. It's pretty awesome.
It's not going to happen. It's going to happen. I know. I have to do it. It's on my list. Awesome. For sure.
It's sure to check out Instagram, because we're going to be doing a giveaway with Cristina, with the book, with some awesome favorites of Cristina. And so watch for that in the next couple of weeks. That will be coming out when this is published on our actual podcast. And get yourself some cool stuff.
Yeah, get some stuff.
Cool. All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks for joining. Bye.
That's a wrap, folks. Hope you guys dug that podcast.
Yes.
With a shovel.
With 2 shovels.
2 shovels.
Yes.
Although I would say 1 person and 2 shovels is probably less efficient than 1 person and 1 shovel.
Edward Shovel Hands.
Jeez. Yes. Edward Shovel Hands. Dude, that's funny.
Edwina Shovel Hands, depending on, if you're male or female.
Right. It's non-binary.
But again, folks, if you're enjoying the podcast, we'd love for you to leave us a 5-star review on whatever listening modem you are coming at us with.
Modem?
Is that? Modal?
Yeah, whatever.
Modality. No.
Yeah.
Wherever you're listening to us, it would be awesome if you left us a 5-star review. Or as many stars as that modicity modality modem gives you.
Warrants. Yeah.
You're going to have to take your shovels off your hands, though.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. We love you. Bye.
Bye.